I'm going to show you how to read multiple things from the input using a for repetition loop. First, I'm going to need a variable, how many. Let's put 0 for the moment. How many is how many things, how many items I want to read from the input. Then I will need the sum, because the thing I want to do is I want to add all the things that were read from the input and output the sum of all the things read. Then I will need a third variable, which is the number that was read. And I'm going to show you how to use the for loop, for repetition loop, to do multiple scanf to read what's inside a terminal multiple times. So here, before I start the repetition loop, I have to ask how many items will be read from the input. So I ask this with a scanf. First, I can put a printf, and I can ask how many items do you want to add? Let's say that. All right. So then I do the scanf %d, and I read the value, and I put the value in the variable how many. So that would be ampersand how many. Right. So now I know how many times I want to repeat another scanf that will read all of the stuff I put in the input terminal. So I can use the for repetition loop, and I will repeat how many times? Well, how many? This is the variable how many. What will I repeat in this loop? Well, I will read all of the values from the input. So that would be a scanf again with a %d, and I will put what I have read in the variable number read. And this number that I've just read, I will first printf it. So I have read %d from the input terminal, and then \n, and the %d is the number read. And then what I want to do is I want to add all of the things that I've read and to put the result in the sum. So the sum will be, well, the old sum. For example, here at the beginning, if it's 0, but then it will be the new value of the sum. And I will add to the sum the number that I've just read from the input. And then I will printf sum equals %d and a new line. And the %d is the value of the variable sum. All right, let's try to compile and run this program. So first I have, how many items do you want to add? I want to add 3 items, and I type enter. Then I go into the repetition loop. And as you can see here, the sum is equal to 0, the number read first is equal to 0, and I is 0. It's the first time I repeat the instructions in the loop. So the first item I want to add is 10. So I put 10 in the terminal, and I type enter. You can see that the instructions were the printf, then the new sum calculation, and another printf, and the output is I have read 10 from the input terminal, and the sum equals 10. And then we repeat the instructions, and we go back to the scanf. So the second item I want to add is 4. So I put 4, and I tap enter. And then in the output, I have read 4 from the input terminal, and the sum equals 14. Why? Because the old sum was 10, and then we added 4 that was just read from the input. So the sum equals 14 now. And then we repeat a third time, because how many items do we want to add? 3. So this is the third time we do the for loop. And here I want to add 2. And then I press enter. And in the output, I can see I have read 2 from the input terminal, and the sum equals 16, which is the old sum value, 14, plus 2, which equals 16. So now I want really you to test it by yourself. It's very important here that you test this program yourself, and that you understand what's happening here, and that you understand what we do exactly when we repeat the instructions here. You have to understand that we read a number, and then the number that we've just read, we add it to the sum variable. But the sum variable is also used here. So we have the old sum variable, and we add the new read number. And we really have to understand what's happening here. So please try it by yourself with your own numbers, and try to understand what's happening here. For example, try to understand this for loop, and you can see here that I change with how many variables, so that we can repeat a certain number of times that will be defined with the value that is read from the first scanf, answering the questions, how many items do you want to add? And this is the answer from the input terminal. The user said how many times he wants to repeat this for loop, and within the repetition, then you have multiple instructions. So let's try by yourself, and let's try with others' values as the input. Do it right now.